Welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Jacob DeGate. It's now my pleasure to be joined by Tony Alford, who is the president of the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District, and we have Mitch Marmande, who is the program manager for Morganza to the Gulf. Thank you very much for joining us, guys.
Thanks for
Thanks,
having us,
Jacob.
Jacob.
All right, we certainly have a lot of work underway, currently undergoing. Tony, I'll start off with you. What are some of the projects the Levee District is working on?
Well, we've got quite a few projects right now. We have what we call Reach L, which is connecting our levee system to Levees, which is good. We're closing up that end, and that contract's underway. We have, we're in the process of assessing and trying to raise the levees on the east side that are, roughly 12 foot or so, a little subsidence going on. We're in the process. I know Mitch, our project manager, is in the process of trying to get those to 15 feet. We've got the lock going on right now that we're building, which is going to sort of the linchpin of the whole project, right? It keeps salt water out and will keep the fresh water in the system. This thing was originally called a leaky system in that, that fresh water will spread throughout the system with that project in place, and it'll also keep water out of people's yards when you get a south wind, which we're anxious for that to happen as well. And further on, to the other side, we've got about 4.5 miles that we don't have under construction yet, and that's along Miners Canal, and we're working with the Corps. Of course, we signed that PPA agreement with them, so everything is pretty much under their scrutiny with the alignment and what's taking place. And so, we knew this was coming with the $380 million that the federal government was giving us, and here we are. It just takes a lot longer to go through the Corps with this, and we're hoping that they come up with the right decision here soon, so we can get moving.
All right. And previously, for everyone out there, you had, a lot of this, what we've all built so far, it's been through state and local efforts primarily. And the Levee District has had, I guess, the main, control over how that money is spent and how in administrating those contracts. And I would say they've done a pretty good job on spending that money wisely and getting the most bang for their buck.
Yeah, so that's something that we knew all this was coming, so we're working with our partner. Of course, with the tax dollars that we have and the state money that we've had and what we've built so far, we've really pinched pennies. We tried to get the best, as you say, the best bang for our buck in the process of building because we had limited funds to do so. The federal money is a little different. You've got a lot more people in the meetings. You've got a lot more time that goes between actually doing the project, and it's just something that we have to adjust to, and nature of the beast, right?
But that's a big part of what the commissioners did is we set out a way in building this to where we could achieve whatever federal standard we needed to achieve. So, that's a big part of what, maybe a year ago, 4 days of my week were concerned with what construction projects we had going on. Now 4 days a week is spent doing work, coordinating the Corps' effort on this project. So that's how my life's changed over that year. There obviously is a lot more federal coordination than when we issue a project. We issue a project, make sure it's engineeringly sound, and we got the environmental clearances we need to do it. The Corps, does things at a much slower pace. The federal government moves slower. So that's been an adjustment, and that's a frustrating adjustment. But the good news is we have $400 million here, and we still have a lot of exciting projects going on. The lot complex, lifting. We did start lifting Reach H1 about 2 weeks ago, so that's a current lifting project that's underway. But we have a lot more work to do. To get that eastern part of the system to 15 is going to be a big effort.
Okay, and where is that, that levee at now as far as elevation?
It's at 12.
Okay.
It's at 12.
All right, and we're trying to lift those to 15. And what communities is that protected?
Well, that's Little Cayenne, above Cocodrie, next to the Cocodrie floodgate. I guess in addition to some of those other projects, we are still repairing things that were damaged during Ida. We're still doing debris removal, which is amazing. We'll be at a year from Ida here pretty soon in the next couple of days. So time has flown, but a lot of things have happened over that year.
And I guess that is one important thing to mention. I think on Monday at the Montague Fire Station at 6 p.m. For people who have vessels on H2 and H3 down Little Caillou, they'll be having a meeting to conduct, because the levee district is going out for bids right now to have those vessels removed, and to find out any more information as to what will happen to your vessel if you don't remove it or make a plan. You should be at that meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we would like to give those vessels back to the owners, but sometimes that's not practical, and we'll have a meeting to discuss each one of those particular vessels and the debris we do still have out there on the levee on Monday.
One of the projects we briefly mentioned was Humboldt Canal. That's one of the projects that the Corps is now in charge of trying to provide or rebuild that floodgate and expand it. Mitch, can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's a really exciting thing for us. It'll be the first federal contract on Morganza. Right now, we have about a 30-year-old barge floodgate at Humboldt Canal that is the most frequently operated floodgate in our system.
And that one is also registered, I guess, the highest levels storm surges whenever we do have a storm.
It's in a corner where generally we have the highest run-up in that corner. And I know Tony remembers being out there for Barry and that being in that area, and he and I throwing sandbags to try to protect it. So it's an area that, when a storm's coming, that's a place we concentrate. And it was also the first place that the board wanted to replace a structure. Part of this federal process of Morganza was replacing a lot of structures in our system. Part of what we've been able to accomplish over the last few years is convincing the Corps to keep some of the structures that we have in place because they're good and they work and they're new and we maintain them. And that has had the benefit of reducing the cost of our project, which is the reason why we're able to say we have a federal project now. But Humboldt is one that's old. It operates a lot. And so it was damaged during Ida. We had to do some repairs for it. So it was logically the first one that needed to be replaced. So this is the first step in replacing that floodgate. This was funded prior to the big $380 million funding. This was done years ago by our local delegation was able to get this done. And so, what'll happen is we'll have a more reasonable functional floodgate, something we can operate very quickly.
Sector gate.
Yeah, sector gate in an area that is operated the most. So we're excited about that.
And now, you mentioned $380 million. Has that been, has it been decided of which areas that money is going to go towards?
Right. So and not only decided where it's going, what I can report to you today that the Corps is actually letting design contracts and doing investigations and survey work on these projects. But the main projects that money will go to will be to building two large floodgates in the intercoastal, one in LaRose and one in Houma, which is great news because we would not have the funding either locally or the state to construct these floodgates. The intercoastal is a massive canal, and these floodgates will be massive structures. The lock complex is a $400 million project. These two will probably be in the neighborhood of that together.
We've been fortunate, and of course, the federal money is great now. We're, besides all the tax dollars and the state money that we've put forward, it's nice to get that federal money in, and even the lock complex. We were fortunate to be able to get that Restore Act money, and that's from the BP spill money. And so that's something I think, Mitch, we didn't think we would see built maybe even in our lifetime back when, and so that came along. the BP spill, and we were able to be putting that thing together right now and have the funds to do it in 3 different phases. And so we feel like in about 3 years, we ought to have that structure pretty close to being finished. So.
Yeah, and look, not to kiss up. I mean, it was one step in front. I mean, we definitely crawled before we walked, before we ran.
Sure.
But I mean, had we not done the local program that we've done, we wouldn't have accomplished any of those things, and we wouldn't have been able to take advantage of those opportunities. And that's a credit to Tony and his board of commissioners and Reggie and the parish for moving that forward. But yeah, I mean, Tony's exactly right. I really never thought that I'd see the lot complex built in my lifetime. Of course, I didn't expect to live very long. I'm not the healthiest fella in the world.
Those barge gates, that was something that we looked at. It was really difficult. Sector gates are the perfect type of floodgate. You can operate them, you can open, close them, you can do it from someplace else. These barge gates are definitely tougher to operate, but they're about a quarter or less of the cost. And so when you got limited funds, you're trying to block these waterways that are going to be open, and you have to do what you can to be able to close it off.
And I guess Terrebonne Parish is in a unique position where you have so many different waterways that has to be blocked. You're not just talking about you need to get 1 or 2 floodgates built.
And what you do in one affects what goes on in the other. I mean, I think the public would be amazed if they had to sit in the process of us trying to close the system down and what actually goes into that. And the fact that, Greg and his crew can execute that over and over again is amazing.
Yep.
Because you're right, it's complex. We have 5 bayous, we have canals that connect the bayous, and what you do in one affects what's going on in the other. And the storm direction changes and different things occur each time. I mean, it really is interesting, complicated, and stressful to try to close this system down.
We always talk about, we made this comment, it's sort of funny, no owner's manual with this project, right?
Yeah.
It's first of its kind.
That's correct.
And learning to operate it, again, like you said, Greg and our staff and everybody have done a great job in being able to operate.
I know a lot of effort has been going or put forth towards making sure that the people of Dularge community are protected. Can you tell us a little bit about those efforts?
Yeah. So Jacob, that's a unique situation there. So the original alignment was set up to, well, I know it was up for discussion. It was in the yellow lines, right? It was up for discussion one day, but really it wasn't in the alignment of Morganza. They were just basically alignment was going to cut out Lower Dularge at Falgoux Canal. And, we already had somewhat of a levee system in place. And so we decided, instead of cutting them out, there's still a lot of people down there that we were going to somewhat include it. And that's to build the levees that were already in place down Lower Dularge. And that's what we've done. We've tried to get them up to the height. In fact, we're fixing to take bids right now on the finishing up the east side to 12 feet, like the rest of Morganza is in, so that we could include those people and protect them. And the west side, I think we've got it up to 8 feet now, Mitch, something like that. And so, we need to make sure if we're including them, that it's as high and even more so as the rest of the system. And so we've taken that on and made sure to keep them in the loop, in the system, and being protected.
Right. And Mitch, could you touch on those projects? I guess where we are on those. Have we completed? Are the ones on the west side, have they all been completed?
The west side is complete from the Lower Dularge floodgate to the Jimmy the Gate floodgate at 8 feet. So that was probably finished around January, February timeframe. We are finished, I would say, about 65-70% of the east levee to 12 feet, and we have the lower half of that to do. That we will begin advertisement for bids on that in a few days and early next week. So That's going to be about a year-long process to finish the rest of that. But we're excited to have that. The funny part about that is as soon as we're done lifting that, we'll probably have to go back to Reach E and start lifting the rest of it again. But that's what we're prepared to do. That's what we have to do. We're also one of the first lift jobs that we'll do to 15 will be Reach E. That has been designed, that is being reviewed by the Corps right now for credit. I believe we have a permit pending to lift that. So, obviously that means a lot to the community of Dularge. So we'll be lifting that reach. The Corps itself is working on lifting Reach F along the channel, which will tie into the new lock complex. So, all of those mean a lot for Dularge in general, and we'll keep moving forward, going north towards Homa, and hopefully we'll be working on Reach A, which is Tony talked about earlier, the last 4 miles that needs to be connected here shortly. So, we've come a long way, for
and
sure.
under an emergency declaration, what we've done, we've extended that levee all the way to Miners Canal, and so with the thoughts of Miners Canal being there, at least if that water comes in and goes towards Dularge, that it's sort of funneled out towards Miners Canal. Of course, we have to dredge Miners Canal to make it deeper, but that was the thoughts, and at least getting it to Miners Canal in case of a hurricane.
And we mentioned previously in the last segment about floodgates. That's another floodgate that's in store for the future is Miners Canal. Mitch, can you touch on, I guess, where we are on that?
We've designed Miners Canal. We've provided that information to the Corps. The exact location of it is still being determined. So the design on Miners Canal may change some. There are several different locations the Miners Canal floodgate could be located. That's part of what we're going through with the Corps right now is a process of setting that alignment. We're also going to be working on setting the alignment for the Lafourche portion of this from Lockport to LaRose, which has not really been finalized yet. So I'm working on that with North Lafourche Levee District. So we will begin an alternate alignment process for that as well. That's important because that's gonna determine the location of the Intercoastal Canal floodgate in LaRose, which is quite a tricky project. There's a lot of pipelines. There's several businesses that would be affected. So, it's going to be a challenge to get that done. But we're ready for it.
Ready for it, and ready for this hurricane season. I imagine we got about a minute left, but let all the public know the levees out there. I know they took a beating last year, but are they in good shape for this year?
Yeah, we're 100% back, and even better than we were before Ida. We've done some strengthening projects to some of our floodgates. We've got them repaired. We have everything is functioning and ready to go. We've done some improvements to the levee. We've fixed scour problems that we've had on some of the levees. So now it's just a question of getting bigger and better and buttoning up the entire system. But we're better off than we were before Ida, that's for sure.
All right. Sounds great. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We certainly appreciate all the hard work that you put into it.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate it.
All right. Stay tuned for more right here on HTV.